Welcome to the Buddhist Sutta YouTube channel, where you can explore the sacred teachings of Buddhism. Join us as we introduce ethical suttas, profound teachings, and practices that can guide you towards enlightenment. It's a blessing that we are here together, so let's begin with the content overview, description. Yes, let's go to the video description.
Life is full of colors, so beautiful they light the way. Don't rush to believe in shadows, follow what your heart would say. Old traditions weigh heavy, but you're free to find your own. Truth will guide you to the...
People will be happy, and war will end if we embrace the benefits of non-self. Most religions claim that there is a supreme being, such as God, who created the world and gave life to humanity. In contrast, Buddhism teaches the concept of no-self, anatta, and does not accept the idea of a creator deity responsible for human existence. In daily language, people commonly use pronouns like I or we to refer to themselves and others. Thus, when Buddhism talks about no-self, meaning there is no I, it might sound illogical. In discussions about no-self, Buddhism emphasizes recognizing that the five aggregates, pankekanda, are not self. There is nothing that can be truly considered as I or mine. But if we say there is no self, who then is the subject when we use pronouns like we or I? Does saying we have no self mean that there is no I? What does that mean? What is the purpose of practicing to achieve no self? Those unfamiliar with Buddhist teachings might naturally reject the notion of no self, thinking that if there is no self, then who is practicing, who attains enlightenment, who becomes a Buddha, who enters nirvana, and who is liberated? Even among Buddhists, many do not fully understand the concept of no self. They wonder if there is no self, then who practices, who realizes, who attains Buddhahood, and who achieves liberation. Even without understanding no self, following the five precepts, cultivating virtue, practicing vegetarianism, and doing good deeds to enjoy blessings in the next life is commendable. This is called the human vehicle in Buddhism. Or one might practice the 10 wholesome actions to be reborn in heavenly realms and enjoy a long, blissful life. This is known as the heavenly vehicle in Buddhism. However, starting from the vehicle of the Sravakas, the vehicle of the Pratyeka Buddhas, and the vehicle of the Bodhisattvas, it becomes essential to understand no self, and to eradicate the sense of self. What is no self? The term self, Atman, in Indian thought at the time of the Buddha referred to the idea of a master or soul. The master is seen as the one with the power to control, with complete freedom and autonomy. For example, a king is the master in his kingdom, with absolute authority, free to do as he pleases, giving orders, punishing, imprisoning, traveling, or residing wherever he chooses, freedom and autonomy, entirely according to his will. The master is the one who arranges, judges, directs, and governs. For example, a prime minister is the highest official in the court, managing and arranging all matters, assisting the king in ruling the people. The self is considered the master, meaning it has the power to arrange, control, and act with freedom and autonomy. Most people believe that they are the masters of their bodies and minds, that they can move, sit, speak, and think as they please, and thus they are confident that there is a master, or self, within them. Anatta, no self, literally means no self, but it has various connotations. In Mahayana Buddhism, no self means non-substantiality, while in Theravada Buddhism, it means not self, or not mine. In the Samyutta Nikaya, Connected Discourses, Book 3, the Kanda Vagga, Book of Aggregates, Chapter 1 contains 183 short discourses, all emphasizing no self, and repeatedly stating phrases like, form, O monks, is impermanent. What is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self should be seen with right wisdom as it truly is. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. By seeing with right wisdom, the mind becomes dispassionate and liberated, free from clinging. The terms impermanence, suffering, and no self are repeated countless times in the 5 Nikayas of Theravada Buddhism, making them the 3 marks of existence, trilaksana, that stamp all Buddhist teachings. Later, some people considered the 3 marks to be emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness, or impermanence, no self, and nirvana. Others speak of the 4 marks as impermanence, suffering, emptiness, and no self, or impermanence, no self, emptiness, and nirvana, but these are personal interpretations. The Buddha's teachings are unified by their liberating essence, so if one follows any of the Buddha's teachings to achieve liberation, it can be considered a mark of the Dharma. After attaining enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, the Buddha sought out his former companions, the 5 ascetics led by Kondana, and delivered his first sermon, the Dharmakakkapavatana Sutta, setting the wheel of Dharma in motion, on the 4 noble truths. Upon hearing it, Kondana immediately attained the first stage of enlightenment, stream entry, Sotapanna, and the others gradually followed, liberating themselves from defilements, attaining the pure eye of Dharma, and perceiving the path. Stream entry is the first stage of enlightenment in the Sravaka path. However, merely seeing the path is only the beginning. There are still many defilements, afflictions, and deep-seated habits accumulated over countless lifetimes that have not yet been eradicated, so one must go through the path of cultivation to eliminate them. It is like someone who has just seen the mountain peak and the path leading to it but is still at the mountain's base. Although still at the base, they know that continuing along this path will lead him to the peak. Seeing the path is just the initial vision. After that, one must cultivate, eliminating defilements and impurities to attain the higher stages of Anagami, Sakadagami, and finally Arahant, the highest fruit of the Sravaka path, analogous to reaching the mountain peak. After the 5 monks had seen the path, the Buddha taught him a second discourse, the Anatta Sutta, discourse on the characteristic of non-self, which explains the doctrine of no self, to eradicate self-attachment, the root of ignorance and affliction, leading them further along the path until they attained arahantship, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Later, while Venerable Assaji, one of the 5 monks in Kondana's group, was on his arms round, his demeanor of calm and liberation prompted Sariputta to approach him and inquire about the Dharma. Assaji recited a verse summarizing the principle of dependent origination. All phenomena arise from causes. The Tathagata has explained these causes and also how to cease them. This is the teaching of the great monk. Upon hearing this verse, Sariputta attained stream entry. He then shared it with his close friend Moggallana, who also attained stream entry. Together, they sought refuge in the Buddha and became his disciples. The Buddha assigned each a meditation subject, and within a week, Moggallana attained arahantship, followed by Sariputta 2 weeks later. What is an arahant? An arahant is one who has completely eradicated self-attachment and defilements. Because they no longer have self-attachment or defilements, they do not create karma that leads to rebirth in the cycle of birth and death. No self is the non-substantiality of phenomena according to the spirit of prajna. According to the Heart Sutra *, when Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva was practicing deeply the prajnaparamita, he perceived that the 5 aggregates are all empty and thus overcame all suffering. When practicing deeply, this means after a period of deep contemplation with wisdom that observes in all directions, one realizes that the 5 aggregates are all empty. Empty here refers to the 2 levels of reality of emptiness. The first level of emptiness is the non-substantiality of the 5 aggregates, the empty nature of the 5 aggregates occupying space. Form and emptiness are one and the same, meaning form is not different from emptiness and emptiness is not different from form. This is absolute self-nature. The second level of emptiness is the non-reality of things, as form, i.e., a form in a moment has already transformed into something other than its original form. Form at 0 age and form after 1 moment in age. This is the provisional reality created by the illusory process of the five aggregates. Thus, upon careful reflection, one realizes that all suffering is in the past. Form is not the original form anymore after one moment has passed. Form is emptiness equals form after one moment is no longer the original form. In the absolute state of emptiness, void, suffering cannot be touched whether in the present or past. In provisional reality, past suffering no longer exists in the present. The pain has passed, and we only remain entangled in memories, constantly replaying them as echoes in our minds. The benefits of non-self. The doctrine of non-self is fundamental and foundational in Buddhism. Let's examine the benefits of non-self from two perspectives: daily life and the spiritual path. In daily life, we suffer from desires, anger, ignorance, hatred, likes, dislikes, worries, and so on. All these sufferings stem from clinging to the self. When we desire something, who desires it? Desire for whom? For what? It is I who desires, isn't it? I desire for myself, for my spouse, for my family, for my own benefits. When anger arises, who is angry? Why do we get angry? It is I who gets angry. I am angry because someone did something that displeases me. When we like something, who likes it? When we dislike something, who dislikes it? It is I who likes or dislikes. I like things that please me. I dislike things that upset or irritate me. When there is internal conflict, who experiences it? Why is there internal conflict? It is I who experiences it because others have hurt me, my honor, my feelings. The more we cling to the self, the more suffering we experience. Conversely, the more we practice non-self, the less we suffer. Clinging to the self leads to all sorts of mental disturbances related to self-attachment and self-view. When someone touches our possessions, such as our house, spouse, assets, or rights, we become angry, and if we can't express that anger, we worry about losing them. A practitioner of non-self, who no longer clings to possessions as mine, will not suffer as much when facing loss. Due to self-view, thinking that our opinions are always correct, we engage in arguments, disputes, and conflicts, which can escalate into violence and killing. A practitioner of non-self becomes humble, free from pride and boasting, and is loved by everyone. In the beginning, one may still feel some pain when hearing hurtful words, but as non-self is practiced more, attachment to the self diminishes, and insults no longer cause much suffering. Ultimately, when attachment to the self is completely gone, all suffering disappears. Thus, we know that non-self is synonymous with nirvana, for nirvana means the cessation of suffering, a state where no trace of suffering remains. The Dhammapada, verse 81, states, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so too the wise are not moved by praise or blame." The wise person here is one who has thoroughly understood the doctrine of non-self. On the spiritual path, non-self is essential and cannot be overlooked. Many practitioners who do not understand or grasp the doctrine of non-self end up straying from the path, becoming more attached to the self, fame, and appearances. A practitioner of non-self, when performing meritorious deeds such as giving an offering, does not need the temple or monks to record their name because they understand that there is no self that gives, only the act of giving. This is known as the perfection of giving, dana paramita. A practitioner of non-self naturally observes the precepts, with no self that feels constrained or prohibited. A practitioner of non-self finds patience easy because there is no self that feels insulted or humiliated. A practitioner of non-self meditates with clarity, untroubled by delusions. When good or bad thoughts arise, they recognize, these are merely arising thoughts, without attaching any self to being good or bad. Practicing non-self is equivalent to the perfection of wisdom, prajna paramita, also known as transcendental wisdom that sees all phenomena as non-self. Practicing non-self is practicing the Diamond Sutra, which teaches to transcend the four attachments: self, person, sentient being, and lifespan. Practicing non-self is essential for walking the bodhisattva path, as a bodhisattva often rescues sentient beings without seeing a self as the rescuer or others as those being rescued. Thanks to non-self, bodhisattvas are ready to give up their lives, enter birth and death, and endure suffering to save sentient beings. The concept of non-self in Buddhist thought aims to strip away the self, which is filled with greed, hatred, ignorance, and desires, leading to suffering, rebirth, and the cycle of samsara. The root cause is ignorance, which obscures the pure mind's inherent nature. Non-self can be a method to purify the mind, making it empty. Non-self can be seen as the emptiness of all things and the voiding of all existence in the mind. When the mind is pure, wisdom arises. This wisdom is the direct, present moment awareness, a knowing beyond time and space, where there is no self to intervene, knowledge. The Buddha explained in the Basic Path to Enlightenment Sutra that, in understanding, there is liberation. Non-self is liberation from the self, which is the forest of sin. The concept of non-self is simply the mind's realization. The truth is that the mind, always pure by nature, non-self, is tainted by external impurities, the self. The Four Noble Truths, non-self, and dependent origination are the foundational teachings of Buddhism. Thanks to these teachings, countless disciples of the Buddha have attained liberation, becoming noble monks, worthy of being revered by both gods and humans. Thank you.
Thank you for watching our video on the Buddha Sutta channel. If you find the teachings of the Buddha valuable, please share our channel with your family and friends. Your support helps us spread the wisdom of the Buddha to more people. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more insightful content. May peace and happiness be with you.